Our goal in this video is to solve quadratic equations that have complex solutions by using the quadratic formula. So what is our quadratic formula? So let's refresh our memory on that. Our quadratic formula is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And this a, b, and c stuff, that's based on this form. If I have ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, my a values are going to go here and here. My coefficient on my x is going to go in those two places, and there's my c value. To solve quadratic equations that have complex solutions. So if we have complex solutions, we know we're going to end up with some square root of a negative here, and we're going to have to pull out the I. All right, so let's take a look at a problem here. We have 2x squared plus 8x plus 14. So this is already written in that ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 form. So I can identify my a, b, and c values. My a is just 2. It's my number in front of x squared. My b is just 8. That's my number in front of x. And my c value here is just going to be 14. So let's rewrite our quadratic formula. X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Substitute in our values. So we have the opposite of b. If b is 8, the opposite of that would be negative 8 plus or minus b squared would be 8 squared minus 4 times a is 2, and c is 14, all over 2 times a, which we already know a is 2. Let's simplify this. This is negative 8 plus or minus the square root. 8 squared is just 64. 4 times 2 is 8. 14 times 8. So let's work that out. 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times 1 is 8, plus the 3 is 11. So 14 times 8 would be 112. So this is minus 112 all over 4. 64 minus 112. That's the same thing as 64 plus negative 112. So I'm 112 into the negatives, and I'm going to take away 64 of those negatives because I have 64 on the positive side of things. So 112 minus 64. Well, let's do a little bit of borrowing here. And 12 minus 4 would be 8. 10 minus 6 is 4. So 64 minus 112, that's just going to be negative 48. So now I know that x is equal to negative 8 plus or minus the square root of negative 48 all over 4. I need to simplify this radical. So the root of negative 48, well, with that negative there, I can pull out an I. So that's I times root 48. And when you look at 48, let's break that down. So what two numbers do you think of multiplied together when you have 48? I don't know, maybe you think 24 times 2 or 12 times 4 would be a good one. And the 12 would be 4 times 3. Now I see I have two 4s already here. So I could break this down 2, 2, 2, and 2 on both of those, but the probably easier way to look at this would be 4 times 4 is 16. So 48 is just 16 times 3. We can root the 16. That's 4. We still have that I there, and we still have that 3 there. So this is going to be negative 8 plus or minus 4i root 3 all over 4. I can simplify this a bit. Let's pull out a 4 from this numerator. Let's factor out our 4, and negative 8 divided by 4 would be negative 2. 4I root 3 divided by 4 would just be I root 3. Let's do a quick check. If we distribute this 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. 4 times I root 3 is 4I root 3. Now I can cancel these out, and my final answer is negative 2 plus or minus I root 3, or if you prefer, you can also write this as negative 2 plus or minus root 3I. And that is how you solve a quadratic equation with complex solutions by using the quadratic formula.